Okay, folks, so our last lesson in the Cityscape project is to show you how to make compound shapes. Okay, so we're going to be using a tool on the top of your toolbar here that helps you add, like, merge things together or subtract things. So it's a really cool tool. Now, we're going to be focusing on either making clouds like this, or we could make trees. Like, these are pretty complicated, but I can show you how to make some of the simpler ones here. And I just did a simple search, trees, Adobe Illustrator. I know that we're using Gravit, but like using Adobe Illustrator as a search item will help us get some trees that we could do in Gravit too. You could also try to make a water tower on the top of your buildings for some interest. I just need to know that you've made some complex shapes. So I'm going to be looking for like 3 complex shapes. They could be 3 clouds, 3 trees. You could do a cloud, a tree, and a water tower if you want to push yourselves, whatever you want to do. Okay, so let me show you how to make a couple things. I'm just going to go to one of my pages here. Okay, so in order to make a cloud, for example, what I'm going to do is I am going to first make an ellipse. Okay, now let me put a little color on this ellipse. And I'm going to make another ellipse like this. And by default, I think it might change the same color. So I'm just going to yeah, once I change the first one, it kind of keeps all the colors the same. So I'm just going to sort of mimic like the roundness of a cloud like that. Okay, so that's, to me, it looks like a cloud. Maybe I want to pull these out a little bit more. All right, so right now I just have a bunch of circles or ellipses all together. I want to make sure that they are merged together. So once I click, I want to click and drag. So I hold down my mouse key. So as I click outside of it, I want to select all of them. So you create a marquee around them. So go out somewhere outside the object, click and drag across the object, and that selects all of the ellipses. Once you do that, you'll see that this tool is available to you. When you have nothing selected here, that tool is grayed out. You can't use it. When I click and drag across multiple items, I'm allowed to use this. And I can use the little, remember, if there's an arrow there, it means that there's a drop-down menu. There's multiple things I can do here to change the way this looks. So what I want to use right here is I want to use union. And union will just make them all one shape. Okay. Now I can go back to the original ones if I want to, but it allows me to click it as a single object. And then I can do things like I can make it a linear gradient if I want. I can change I can change the way that it looks, make this maybe something that looks like this. You guys know how the linear gradient works. Let's say that I want to make it have a flat bottom like this. If that's the case, I can grab a rectangle and I click and drag it across. I'm going to use the rectangle like a blade. Okay, so I click and drag it across where I want to cut the cloud. Then I want to select both of them. So I can click and drag across, or I can click, hold down the shift key, and click on the other one. Now they're both selected. Okay, it's really, really important to get both of them selected. Then click on the drop-down menu and hit subtract. Okay, and that's going to cut off that part. Now, the other thing I could do is hit intersect. That would keep just this, the intersection of the two, like that. Or I could do difference, and that keeps both objects, but cuts away the intersection. Instead of keeping the intersection, it cuts away the intersection. So those are some things that you can do in order to change what your object looks like. But for now, I want to subtract it, okay? Now, if I wanted to make it look more cartoonish, like it looked like in this one, I can increase the border, add the border, maybe add some values here, right? If I wanted to, I could, let me zoom in. If I wanted to, I think I can use the sub-select tool, and because it doesn't really allow me, I could just move these around a little bit, the original ellipses, if I wanted to change that. But that's your cloud, okay? That's a one cloud here. So When you make another cloud though, if you're gonna have 3 separate compound objects, I want one that looks different. I don't want you to just copy and paste your original cloud. I want 3 separate compound shapes that you've made. If you wanted to do something like take a rectangle and then make a star across it, one other thing is you can stamp. If you go difference, it stamps the shape out of the outer shape. Okay, so that's another thing that you could do. Okay, if you wanted to make a tree, what you could do again is like look at the inspirational trees here. Right, these might be a little bit harder for you to do, but they're essentially like the clouds, except there's some shading here that you could think about too. So what you could do is, let's see, to make a tree, you're just going to do the same thing with the ellipses. You're just going to make a series of, let me make this green already. I'm going to make it kind of a darker green though, like maybe, okay. So here I can make, I'm going to just keep hitting the E to make ellipses. Make the top of my tree. This, make it real fluffy, right? And then I'm going to click and drag across. I'm going to union them together. Then I can make a rectangle for the trunk. I can make this like a brown color. Kind of mess around with it. Okay. I want to right click and arrange and bring this to the front. So that's in the front. Okay, and then another thing that you could do is make like little branches that go up into the tree. So sometimes you can see like the branches that like, where are some other, so here, this one has like these branches that come up into it. So if I wanted to do that, I could make some more branches. So actually, if I want to arrange, bring this to front, then I could thin it out like the way that you just saw. And I could make some more rectangles that are like, you know, thin little branches. What I want to do is use the rotating button and then kind of just work with it to make them look a little bit better. Okay, you can zoom in, but essentially, you know, I could go copy paste to make one right there and then rotate it. Oh, actually, if I just did that, I could make it like that. Okay. Okay, and then what I probably want to do is click on all of the branches and then union them together. Okay, so you have a little tree right there. I can drag across them and hold down shift and just like make them smaller if I wanted to put them in my cityscape. Right? So you might want to open up another page and like kind of do your work on another page and then bring your trees like into your cityscape. That might be really helpful because that way that you don't have to mess with like everything else being selected and it will always just end up on top. Okay, and then you could just make this smaller, add the, you know, the cloud into your cityscape like that. Oh, if it doesn't ever show up, go right click. Oh, where'd it go? You want to bring this, make sure that it is on the top here. Oh, it keeps getting lost. So you want to make sure that on page 1, let's see, there's my compound shape. I want to copy and go to page 1 and paste it here. And it did show up on top. Okay, so good. Because I want it to be on the very, very top so I can see it. All right, so you can just work on that. Water tower would just be building up shapes as well, right? So you could make one that's sort of deconstructed with some shapes. I'm not going to show you how to make that one because just in the interest of time, and you can kind of see the, you know, you can see the tools that I worked with. So I want 3 shapes that are different that you use the compound tool with. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for in this lesson, right? And you could ask me how to make other shapes if you want, but you know, let me know in class if you're interested in something else. But usually a cloud and a tree is pretty helpful. All right, and that's all you have. That's the last part of this. Make sure that you, of course, pass your link in and save as frequently as possible, which I have not done. Okay, guys, see you later.